Hey everyone, welcome back to Comics Rot Your Brain, the podcast where professional screenwriters talk about the comic books that we love, mostly from the 1980s. This is a spotlight episode on Alien Legion from Epic Comics. Alien Legion first came out in 1983. It features a military unit called Nomad Squadron, which is similar to the French Foreign Legion but in space. Alien Legion was created by Carl Potts, Alan Zelenetz, and Frank Cirocco. And if you're a fan of this show, please hit like, comment, and subscribe, and follow our Patreon at patreon.com/Comics Rot Your Brain. There'll be a link in the show notes.
That one page, Skobb signs his own death warrant with his fellow legionnaires, and without even knowing he's doing it. But as a reader, I think you're right that Zelenetz is so brilliant as a writer, Chris, because as a reader reading that, like, I know that's the wrong thing to do as a soldier in the middle of a battlefield, etc. But at the same point, hearing Skobb's thoughts, like, I can understand it also. Because, like, Skobb's thinking, this dude's going to be dead in a second. And, like, what's the point in both of us being dead? Let me take his shit so they don't kill me. Like, I get the thought process.
Well, see, I mean, look, this is, again, because, look, what I love about this comic is people make these choices that are ultimately selfish choices. Like, in the first episode, that one guy who was his first time out on Legion, like, he went and ran off and they thought he had deserted and stuff like that. And later on, that guy named Dirge, like he's like this tank type of, he's like a thick, short, he's kind of like Puck from Alpha Flight type of character. He wants to be able to move faster. So he's taking something that's kind of like amphetamines and shit like that. And it's like they make these decisions that are really human decisions because, look, because at this point in the story, we know they've signaled a retreat, and Skobb is left here alone. So he's basically been abandoned by everyone else.
He got fucked.
And he's like, what do I do? This guy's dead. If I try to carry him, then we'll both get killed. They'll just shoot us up because you know how they'll see someone who's wearing the officer stuff and shoot him, or they'll save him because you're worth something. So he makes a decision that is a super cowardly fuck decision.
Yeah.
From us outside. But like you said, the flop balloons allow us to, to sympathize with him. And There's a thing too, like if you didn't have thought balloons and you did this as captions, like on this, like caption boxes on the side the way they do now. Yeah. Then the difference is, then the writer has to write that in third person and say what Skobb is thinking, because we're never going to get in his head because usually in those, unless it's like a Sin City where all the captions are someone's internal thoughts, it's like I feel that this page wouldn't work.
You're right.
If you didn't have thought.
You're right. That's such a brilliant point. You're such a brilliant point, dude, because I hadn't really thought about that so specifically till you just said it. But like the word balloon gives you the opportunity to kind of give like a mini voiceover to each character, right? But you can't do that as a storyteller with just captions, or if you do, it's going to be more likely to be awkward and unwieldy because what are you going to do? You're going to give 9 different characters fucking voiceover captions? Like that's going to be hard to parse. Whereas a thought balloon is so much more elegant. And you can just do a couple of thoughts and that's it or whatever. And like a situation like this, like Skobb's not narrating the story. He doesn't need to narrate any other scenes. We just needed to know what he was thinking at this exact moment.
Right. I mean, and also, like you said, like when Tori's dying or he's been shot, those balloons in his head about this can't happen to me. Yeah. That, again, if you put that in captions, if he's narrating it, see the thing that it's part of what happens in movies too, where we evolve with what the conventions are, and certain things that got overused, people don't want to use anymore. But it's like those are effective tools if you know how to use them the right way. Because the thing is, if you were to give captions to Tori Montauk in this, then you can't really jump around to the other scenes where he's not in them. And then use captions because like, wait a minute, that device is or you're jumping between first person and third person throughout the thing, and it's like there's a device that you can use, thought balloon, which would solve the problem of letting you know how scared he is, because you can see how this would be if it was. I mean, that one page that transition page on the previous page. You couldn't do that well with any other form but thought balloon. what I think is so cool about this comic, and it's more so some of these other the issues coming up. We've talked about the thought balloons and stuff like that. The thing I realized that the thought balloons do is that it's everybody's kind of fears.
Yes.
Like it talks about their sense of self-doubt about whatever is happening, what's going on internally for them. Like, oh my fucking god, like I can't deal with X. I can't deal with Y. I mean, I think of the next issue that like the first one that Chris Warner does. There's that Skaith Muscad, some people like die in his arms a few times. A couple people get shot and they die. They bleed out in his arms, and he's one thing where the blood is still on his armor, and he's like tripping out, and he's like having these thoughts about like it's just too lonely for me. Like I thought I could find like a sense of
Right.
like of camaraderie here in the Legion, but all the people I get close to get killed, and I'm just
Right.
like this. And so with Dirge here, it's like it's getting into his mindset about like why I feel inadequate as part of the unit. And it's interesting because it's like he knows what his lane is in the unit, but he's not comfortable with it. And he wants to take the drugs to get into a different, I don't know, like to be more, to do more, to be more than what he's actually all people already
Yes.
like respect him for where he is, but it's not good enough for him. And it's all kind of discussed within the thought balloons and with everybody. I mean, I think it's different. Now that I think about this, I can't remember a lot of what thought balloon stuff was in older comics of this era and the era before the 70s, but I don't think it was so much like like psychosis going on and these
Yeah. Well, you make an
and the people being so neurotic.
Totally. You make an interesting point because, like, thought balloons were just so ubiquitous in superhero comics, right? Forever. Like, we're used to, like, Spider Man or whoever just having these, like, thoughts to themselves. But I think in Alien Legion, like, what you're saying is really true. It's a unique use of thought balloons because it's a war story,
Yeah,
and like these are soldiers in this insane crucible of fucking battle everywhere where people are dying all around them. And like we talked about with like the thoughts of like Tory Montrock a couple issues ago too, where he gets shot and he thinks he's dying and he has those really staccato bursts of like, oh my God, not me, not me. Holy shit. No, like only other people. I didn't fucking know I was going to die. Not me. Like they're all very realistic, just simple thoughts, but also like you're saying, thoughts of fear and neurosis and panic. And like when you're in a theater of war, like that's the place where your mind is going to go fucking insane because it could not be a more stressful situation for you, and you don't want to show weakness, right?
right.
So
And
in
yeah,
this situation, like thought balloons become way more critical than your average fucking superhero punch up story.
yeah. Favorite comic ever. I mean, because I mean, look, I mean, the thing is, 16 issues of this, and they're not 30, they're 32-page issues, they're not 22, they're 30 or 32-page issues. So it's a lot of storytelling. The fantastic way that it blends like pathos with the politics and the war story is, I think, unparalleled. And what I love about it is this, someone was telling me this one time and I totally believe it, is that you can tell every type of story you want to tell in a war story. Every genre, or
That is fascinating. That's a fascinating statement.
it's like, and I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And as you go back to the history of war films, almost everything you think of is war comedy. There's look, like there's even like this one called I Was a Male War Bride with Cary Grant, which was a rom-com war movie. You have movies like Stripes, which are straight up comedies.
Yeah,
You have movies
or
like
fucking Hogan's Heroes in the
Hogan's
POW
Heroes.
camp.
You've got like Saving Private Ryan, which is the hardcore type of thing. So it's interesting that the Alien Legion does this because it allows these guys to tell a lot of stories about a lot of people about the human condition in a situation that is always life or death.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really cool about war stories. That's what's really cool about the Alien Legion.
Yeah, that is a brilliant observation. I think that's a really sharp and succinct way to put it. And yeah, it did also strike me, like while we were reading this, that there is something about just the idea of this particular war story, like you say, where it's like the stakes are so high every single time out that it's like the ultimate metaphor for life. Like it's like we're all going through our daily lives. We've got our little family, quote unquote, of people that we bring together around us, our squadron, our nomad squadron, if you will, of all the fucking freaks that we gather as our friends in life, with our own fucked up families that we do or don't want to have in our lives. And so, life as war like feels probably pretty accurate metaphorically for a lot of people, for everyone just kind of struggling with life, period.
It's true. That's
You know what I mean?
point.
And so, yeah, so it's like, this is just like, it's a hyper compressed metaphor that I think resonates on a really deep level with everyone who feels like, whether it's fucking money or whether it's your health, whether it's your relationship, your family, your job, like so much of fucking life in America or anywhere, it does feel like you're at fucking war every day. And you got so much stress and you don't know when you're going to die. You don't know when you're going to die. And you got friends and family who do die around you. And sometimes people die suddenly. And sometimes people are sick and people might, be close to death and you don't know what's happening. And so like this life that we're all living has this unpredictable element of war. It's just that we're all kind of in a slow motion war, sort of stretched out over a long period of time. But
That's a great point.
You know what I mean? Like we've got that uncertainty still that hovers, like it's that sort of Damocles above all of our heads. We're all just kind of wondering, am I going to live that much longer? Are my loved ones going to live? Am I going to get any of my hopes and dreams that I'm still thinking about to actually come true? Or am I going to be like Tory Montrock suddenly and I catch a bullet on a day I don't expect it and my last thoughts are like, oh fuck, now? No shit, I had so much to do. No, wait, I was gonna do that other thing. Ah, fuck. Like, I mean, that's the thing. We're all in the Alien Legion, Chris.